So I've got something super interesting for you today on QuickSpeak English. And I'm actually really excited about this one. We're going to talk about something that affects pretty much everyone in relationships.
Oh, absolutely. And this is actually one of my favorite topics to discuss, you know what I mean? As a relationship coach, I see so many couples who just they're kind of struggling with this particular aspect.
Right. We're talking about sex goals in relationships. And I know some people might feel a bit uncomfortable, but Peter, you've been helping couples with this for what, like 5 years now?
Actually it's been closer to 7 years now. And let me tell you, setting intentional goals for your intimate life is just it's absolutely crucial for maintaining a healthy relationship, right? I mean, and the couples who actually take the time to do this, they see such amazing results.
Um, so before we dive in deeper, could you maybe explain why these goals are so important? Because I think a lot of people might think that, intimacy should just happen naturally.
See, that's exactly the misconception that causes so many problems. Like, we set goals for everything else in life, right? Our careers, our fitness, our finances, and intimacy deserves the same kind of intentional attention. You know what I mean? It's really about creating the connection that both partners truly desire.
Um, that's such a good point about being intentional. Could you tell us more about how these goals actually make a difference?
Oh, absolutely. And I love talking about this cuz you know what I mean? It's really fascinating how setting these goals just completely transforms relationships. Like when couples start being intentional about their intimate life, they start communicating better about everything else too.
Really? How does that work exactly?
Well, see, it's like this magical domino effect, right? When you start having these open conversations about intimacy and you're setting these goals together, you're basically creating this safe space for vulnerability, you know? And what happens is couples start feeling more connected, more understood, and they feel safer expressing their needs in all areas of their relationship.
So it's not just about the physical stuff then.
Exactly, exactly. And here's what's really fascinating from a psychological perspective. When couples set these intimate goals, they're rewiring their brains to associate their partner with positive experiences, right? Like they're literally strengthening their emotional bond through this intentional focus on intimacy. You know what I mean?
Um, that's actually really interesting. But don't some people feel pressured by goals?
See, that's a really common concern, but here's the thing. These goals aren't about creating pressure or turning intimacy into a task, right? They're more like guideposts for creating the connection you both want. And and when couples understand this, it actually reduces anxiety because now they have this clear path forward. You know what I mean?
Could you maybe give us an example of how this works in real life?
Oh, absolutely. So like I had this couple who started setting simple goals, right? And and they began with just dedicating 10 minutes each day to physical touch. Not even necessarily sexual touch, you know? Just just intentional connection. And and the transformation in their relationship was just incredible, absolutely incredible. They reported feeling more secure, more satisfied, and their overall relationship satisfaction just skyrocketed.
Um, Speaking of connection, I've heard that communication is super important. How do partners actually start having these conversations?
Oh yes, yes. And this is actually one of my favorite topics because communication is just absolutely fundamental. Like the first thing couples need to understand is that creating this safe space for these conversations is really crucial, right? And it starts with choosing the right moment, you know what I mean?
Like, what would be the right moment?
Well, see, you want to pick a time when you're both feeling relaxed and connected, right? Maybe after a nice dinner or during a quiet weekend morning. And here's what's really important. Try. You want to make sure you're somewhere private, comfortable, and there are absolutely no distractions. You know what I mean?
So once you found that perfect moment, How do you actually start?
That's that's such a great question. See, I always recommend starting with appreciation, right? Like, tell your partner something specific you love about your intimate connection, and then you can gradually move into expressing your desires or or boundaries. The key is being really gentle and super supportive, you know?
Um, what about people who feel really awkward talking about this stuff?
Oh, that's totally normal. And and here's what I tell my clients. Start small, right? Maybe begin by sharing articles about intimacy or or using prompts from relationship books. And and remember, it's absolutely okay to feel a bit uncomfortable at first. The more you practice these conversations, the more natural they become. You know what I mean?
Could you share some specific phrases that might help?
Absolutely. So, like, instead of saying, I don't like when you do this, try something like, I really love when we, and, and focus on the positive experiences you want to create together. And, and another helpful phrase is, I feel most connected to you when these kinds of statements are inviting and, and they create this beautiful space for honest dialogue, right?
Um, so when we talk about physical connection, like what kind of goals should couples actually be setting?
Oh, this is such an important aspect. See, when we talk about physical connection goals, it's really about three main areas, right? And first there's the frequency, you know what I mean? Like how often couples want to be intimate together?
Is there like a right number for that?
No, no, absolutely not. And and that's what makes this so interesting because every couple is just completely unique, right? The key is finding what works for both partners and making sure you're both totally comfortable with the frequency. Like some couples might want to connect multiple times a week while others are perfectly happy with less frequent but really meaningful encounters, you know?
So what about the other areas?
Right. So the second area is all about quality and this is where it gets really exciting. It's not just about the physical act, right? It's about creating these amazing experiences together. Like setting goals for longer foreplay or focusing on being really present with each other and and maybe exploring different types of touch or creating new rituals for intimacy, you know what I mean?
And the third area?
Oh yes. The third area is all about exploration and and this is where couples can really grow together. Like maybe setting goals to try new positions or introducing different types of sensual experiences. But here's what's super important. All exploration needs to be consensual and comfortable for both partners, right? It's about creating this beautiful journey of discovery together, you know.
How do couples make sure they're on the same page with all of this?
That's that's such a great point. See, I always recommend starting with a conversation about desires and boundaries. Like maybe create a shared list of things you'd both like to explore and rate your comfort level with each one. And and remember, it's totally okay if these goals evolve over time. The key is keeping that open dialogue and staying really connected throughout the process. You know what I mean?
So, you mentioned staying connected. How does the emotional side of things play into all of this?
Oh my goodness, this is absolutely crucial. And and I'm so glad you brought this up because, you know, emotional intimacy is like the foundation for everything else. Like when you have that deep emotional connection, the physical intimacy just becomes so much more meaningful and powerful, right?
What kind of emotional goals should couples be thinking about?
Well, and this is really interesting because emotional intimacy goals are all about creating these deeper bonds, you know? Like one goal might be having these regular check-ins where you're sharing your feelings and vulnerabilities with each other and and maybe setting aside time each day to really connect without any distractions, right?
Um, could you give us some specific examples?
Absolutely. So, one practical goal could be creating this daily ritual where you and your partner share the best part of your day, or maybe something that challenged you. And another goal might be practicing active listening, you know? Like really being present when your partner is sharing and showing them you understand their feelings.
Second paragraph in the dialogue.
In this episode of QuickSpeak English, we're diving deep into relationship sex goals. You know, the things you and your partner need to work on for a better sex life. It's a topic a lot of people avoid, but it's so important for a healthy relationship, right?
Absolutely. And it's something we should talk about more openly, you know? So many couples struggle in silence. It's not something to be ashamed of at all. First point, we need to establish open communication. Second point, understanding each other's desires and needs. And third point, exploring different ways to express intimacy. That's like the foundation for a fulfilling sex life. It's really, really crucial.
Open communication, that sounds a bit obvious, but how do you actually do that? Like, what are some practical tips?
Well, it's not just about talking, you know, it's about truly listening, actively listening. It's about creating a safe space where you both feel comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings, even the uncomfortable ones. You have to make it a priority, schedule time, even if it's just for 15 minutes to, you know, just talk. And it doesn't always have to be directly about sex. Sometimes it's about connecting on a deeper emotional level, which naturally leads to better intimacy. It's really about, well, it's like watering a plant. You got to nurture it consistently.
So it's less about explicitly saying, let's talk about sex, and more about creating a nurturing environment.
Exactly. And it's about asking questions, you know, like what feels good to you? What are you fantasizing about? Is there anything you'd like to try? Little things like that. It's about being curious and being genuinely interested in your partner's experience.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. What about the second point? Understanding each other's desires and needs, that sounds a bit challenging.
Yeah, it is, you know, but it's crucial. And the thing is, you need to be patient. It takes time to fully understand someone's desires and needs, and it's an ongoing process. It's about continuous discovery, really. You need to be willing to explore, to learn, and to adapt. And, you know, sometimes it's easier said than done. But it's about making an effort. You could use tools like sex surveys or questionnaires just to get a better idea, or just, you know, talking about your past experiences.
Sex surveys? That's interesting. Never heard of that. What's the deal with point 3 then?
Oh, the third point, exploring different ways to express intimacy. That's the fun part. It's all about expanding your horizons, trying new things, being adventurous. And it doesn't have to be like super crazy stuff. It could be just little things like trying a new position, experimenting with different types of touch, maybe incorporating some toys into the mix. It's all about spicing things up, you know, adding some zest to your love life. It's about keeping it exciting and engaging. You know, it's all about keeping it exciting.
So it's about being playful and adventurous. That's actually kind of exciting. I mean, I guess it would be, right?
Absolutely. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. You know, it's an ongoing process of discovery, and it's completely okay if you don't get it right the first time or even the 10th time. And remember, it's about having fun together. It's really important to laugh together too. You're building something together, you know, a connection, an intimacy that's both fulfilling and lasting. It's about building something that's really special and unique to both of you, and that's incredibly rewarding.
So to recap, open communication, understanding desires and needs, and exploring different ways to express intimacy. It's like building a house together, brick by brick. You know, one wrong step and it might crumble. But if you build it with care and love, it'll last a lifetime. And oh, I'm getting a bit emotional here.
It's okay to get emotional. It's a topic that's close to many people's hearts, and think it's important that we can talk about it honestly and openly. And it's okay to make mistakes. Just learn from them and move on. Remember that a strong, healthy relationship isn't built overnight. You know, it takes time, effort, and lots of communication, and also lots and lots and lots of love, of course.
So what's the main takeaway here, Lily?
Well, the main takeaway is that a fulfilling sex life is part of a healthy and loving relationship. It's important to prioritize communication, understand each other's needs, and keep things exciting. And remember, it's okay to ask for help. Therapists specializing in sex therapy can offer valuable guidance and support if you're struggling. It's not something to be ashamed of. Lots of couples do that.
That's really insightful, Lily. Thank you for sharing your expertise, and I hope our listeners found this episode helpful. Remember to subscribe to QuickSpeak English for more insightful conversations. And until next time, take care.
You too, Sophia, and remember, communication is key, even outside the bedroom. Bye, everyone.